We're going to be talking about the Astroworld tragedy. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I am going to be painting a picture for you guys. I have a tiny canvas, some acrylic paint. I did watch the documentary last night. I was so tired, and I just finished watching Sex and the City on Netflix, and I just happened to be scrolling through Netflix, and I seen that there was a documentary about the Astroworld tragedy that happened in 2021. I heard about it the first time when it happened. I didn't do my own research. I didn't look into it as much as the documentary does, which was absolutely horrifying, to be honest. I can't believe that... I'm sorry, I can't focus on two things at once. Like, I started painting and I forgot how to talk heavy stuff. I can't believe Travis Scott not once stopped the concert at all. There was people being dragged out of the pits, fainting. There was kids screaming at him that jumped on stage for him to stop the show. And not once did he actually pause the show, even after everybody was telling him that there was people passing out and dying in the crowd. And I just can't fathom that. I was watching the P. Diddy trial for a bit. This is like part of Hollywood, and I'm not sure if this is just like normal for these artists and in Hollywood to be that way, but it was so sickening. It was disgusting. I had to stop watching it. I had to stop learning about it and hearing about it. It got so disturbing. Now, the whole documentary on Netflix gave me that energy. It was like dark and sinister. Couldn't believe that it was real, and I can't even imagine the people that were part of the experience. If I'm watching it and just can't fathom how that happened, seeing the people just passing out and dying, getting crushed in the crowds, and nothing being done. Another thing that pissed me off was that the security, and there was I think they bring in this camera girl that was in charge of taking the pictures for the festival. It pisses me off that none of the security stood up to him or stood up to anybody, and they were the ones helping people out of the crowd that were being crushed. They were the people that were witnessing more of this chaos happening, and the riots, and people being shoved and pushed and being trampled, not being able to breathe. Being a rave girly, I go to a lot of festivals. I have been in mosh pits before. I have been in large crowds. I cannot imagine that happening a rave ever. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen in the EDM community, because our mosh pits, I kid you not, stop immediately the moment that somebody goes down. Not only that, but they help them back up. They're never that tight and crowded. Yes, there was a lot of people that broke into this Astroworld festival. How does that happen? How does Live Nation, which is the company that put on this huge concert, right, not have a grip and a hold of the entrance and the entering process? Like, the whole security, there was people breaking the barricades. There was people that broke the barricades of the entrance that were like sneaking in. No. People that broke in to the festival. Not only that, but the cops were also there. Why were the cops there if they weren't doing anything? There was kids breaking down fences and jumping the fences, and the cops were just trying to get a hold on it. Oh my god, my cat got acrylic paint on her nose. Fable! Does anyone know if acrylic paint is toxic to cats? I don't know why she wanted to come in here. I'm pissed. Anyways, I looked it up. Apparently it is toxic, but not like death toxic. Whatever. We're hoping she's okay. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So the cops didn't do anything. Like, they had no control over what was happening, even from the beginning of that damn festival. And I cannot imagine an Excision concert or any EDM concert for that matter ever being like that ever. It wouldn't happen. It would not happen because they have control of everything. This is why I would never go to Rolling Loud, and I've never been a fan of like the rap concerts because they get crazy. People think that ravers are crazy. That was crazy. Like, that documentary was so sad, and it doesn't make sense to me how after all these lawsuits that happened in 2021 they still got away. Live Nation got away with no consequences. I think they paid people off, because when you have money you can do that. You can just pay people off like that. And it's so sad. It's so sad because there was a lady in there, a Mexican mom that lost her son. It was Rudy. Rudy's mom comes on there and she's Spanish speaking and she starts crying, and it broke my heart, and it still breaks my heart because I can't imagine that pain. I don't have kids, right? But I can't imagine that pain of losing your child at a concert. At a concert that was supposed to be fun. I don't like Travis Scott. I never really have been a big fan. I was in high school after watching that documentary. I don't respect him as a person. I don't respect him as an artist. I don't understand how he got away with that. How he never stopped the show. There was text messages between the organizer of Live Nation and this other person that are shown in the documentary of them being aware that there's CPR going on and that 2 people are probably dead in the pit. And they still don't stop the show. He is literally singing and hyping and pumping people up, and people are yelling help. People are begging him to stop the show, and he still does not. I'm watching this and crying last night. As somebody that goes to concerts, I'm imagining what it would feel like to be crushed in a crowd and in a pit, because I've been to so many festivals and I've been in mosh pits before, and they can be overwhelming. The pit can be overwhelming, obviously, if there's a lot of people, but I have never been in a pit where it's that overwhelming, where I'm being crushed, where I can't breathe, where I'm being suffocated. That's the worst way to die, to be honest. And just not being able to breathe. Like, these people were so tight in there when they first lost control in the beginning of the amount of people that actually entered the festival versus what the festival was originally designed to hold. There was a certain amount of people and tickets that were sold, and the festival was supposed to hold a certain amount of people. And then when they broke the barricades in the beginning and people started sneaking in and jumping the fences, and the cops didn't do anything about it, they lost control of how many people actually entered the festival. There's also text messages between a Live Nation representative and this other person mentioning that they don't think that that venue will hold 50,000 people. 50,000 people. Like, Travis Scott fans, I did my own little research last night, have been known to be a little aggressive and riot in the mosh pits, but because Travis Scott wants that. The photographer on the documentary last night clearly stated that she got direction to play into the chaos, that people ended up dying. And I just don't think that's fair. That's not fair that people paid to have a good time. And as a raver, I can't fathom how somebody can get away with something like that and not have any consequences. It doesn't make sense to me. Apparently they sent money to the families and they tried to compensate them. They tried to compensate them for their family members' deaths. There was a 16-year-old girl in there. There was a 9-year-old kid. Why was a 9-year-old kid even in there? I don't like to see kids at festivals. I don't think it's a place for kids, even if they're allowed to go. I don't think it's a place for kids. You should not be taking your kids to festivals because you never know what can happen at festivals. I don't think it's a place for kids. Why was there a 9-year-old there? After watching A Little Disgusted in Hollywood, and I feel like I've always known that like Hollywood is a little dark. I just didn't know it was that dark. Now it's all coming back out, right, because of the documentary, but I think it wasn't talked about for a really long time. Everybody just brushed it off. But we didn't know what actually happened, you know? Like, nobody went into detail the way that the documentary does. Either way, this is what the painting is looking like. It just makes me really sad because I wish people could experience the rave community. I wish people could experience a rave because it's nothing like that. Everybody is so respectful and we try so hard to look out for each other. The artists are amazing. They have stopped shows for the smallest things in the past, and they would definitely not continue the show if they knew that somebody was passing out or passed out in the crowd. I know that for a fact. These are real people. These are human beings. Now, another thing I'm curious about is like if anybody was on drugs, because I feel like that, and that might have made things worse, but I'm just curious, like, was anybody on something? Because that's a faster death. Because if you're on something and you're tripping at an environment like that, there's no way that you are going to be able to calm yourself down. I feel like so much more anxiety inducing, of course, you know. I'm just curious. I don't think I have seen any reports, or like in the documentary it doesn't go into like people actually being on drugs at the festival, but as somebody that goes to festivals, I know that people do drugs at festivals, which is fine. Not judging. I'm not telling y'all to do drugs or whatever, but to each their own, right? Oh. Anyways, if you guys haven't watched the Astroworld documentary, it is on Netflix. I don't know if I'm gonna fill up this canvas. I don't know how to paint, guys, so I didn't even know what to do. To be honest, we're just stroking. I poured out so much paint, bro. Maybe let's fill all these gaps in with blue now. We wanna look like we know what we're doing, but I think we're just putting random colors on the canvas at this point. I want to be like Bob Ross, where he does the little strokes and stuff like that. I don't know if it's working, but there's so much paint on this tray and we need to use it. It's like, what am I gonna do with it after my cat dipped her stupid nose in there? Pissed me off. Like, why would you do that? If you want to buy my painting when I'm done, just let me know. Anyways, so there's a painting. We're done. Voila! But that's the painting. Anyways, that was my little rant about Astroworld. I know it happened in 2021, but the documentary just came out, so I would recommend you go and watch it and then just, I guess, form an opinion, because we really can't do anything about it, but I wish we could. Maybe if we all start talking about it, somebody will own up to what happened, and all those victims and their families will get justice. But really fucked up. Fuck Hollywood. Fuck these rappers. No heart. No empathy. It's sickening and disgusting. But thank you for coming and watching and painting with me. This is the final result. Picasso. Voila. Okay. I'm leaving. Bye.